If you want to see more videos and interviews like this from influential people in tech, finance, and sports, subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell to be alerted. And go a step further and join the YouTube and membership area for early releases of videos like this. I'm out of here. Ha! Yeah, it's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another Kicking It session. Today I've got Anita Moore on with me. She has a new startup. It's called Blind Box, and we're going to talk about that. I think this is a very interesting take on NFTs, man. I'm really excited to talk to her about this today. Anita, how are you today? And thank you for joining me on another Kicking It session with Crypto Blood.
I'm good. Thanks for having me. Really great to be here. And I'm excited to talk about the platform and dig into some of the NFT space with you.
I'm just refreshed to see minority, double minority in this space. Oh my God. Let's give a round of applause for that. You have a very interesting and well-established background. Kind of tell us about you first before we get into the blind box thing and all of that. How did you get into cryptos? Tell us about, you went to like Harvard, you're a graduate from, you got some, you're doing your thing. You got to tell us about
schools.
What's going on. All right,
I have a couple of degrees, I'd say. So I originally studied biomedical. I originally studied biomedical engineering at Columbia. And after school, I spent the majority of my career working in healthcare, so working in big pharma, but mostly the business side of healthcare, so consulting, finance, and corporate strategy. And then I went to business school, and that is where I learned about blockchain. And I remember, hearing some people like kind of whispering about it, or, sort of being in their own corner talking about it. And I'm like, what is this thing? And, when I finally read the Bitcoin white paper, for example, I was hooked. And for me, it was all about sort of the ethos behind it. So outside of the aspect of it being a currency, it was this idea of transparency and this distributed responsibility of each of us to manage our own, our own funds and our own information. So I loved it. And I became a bit of a little personal crypto evangelist within my friend circle and broadly. And I ended up joining my first crypto startup in 2017. This was a platform that was building a blockchain solution for film and television production, and helped that team grow. And now I'm here today, excited to tell you about this. But during the entire time, I've always been an investor, a blogger. I have an alternative ego called Anita, and
I saw that.
my whole thing is, it's just I want to bridge the gap between the mainstream and the crypto world. So if I can personally make crypto more accessible to a normal person, someone who's in the arts, someone who's not so technical, then I think I'm doing my job. So that's where I am.
That's nice. I think I remember the ICO boom in 17 and stuff. I thought that would be the catalyst for bringing like mainstream audience into cryptos. It didn't. It like kind of started, but then like the investment class took over and they just went crazy with it and kind of left everyone in the dust. But now with this NFT thing, I really think we can see some traction and adoption from mainstream or Main Street with the cryptos and such. So is that why you kind of give us your foray into NFTs? Like, what was that?
Yeah.
When did that happen for you?
Gosh, I have two friends that first put me onto NFTs, but one is actually our current CMO. So Suze Lee and I have known each other for a long time. And she's one of the first other women that I knew that was in the crypto space, looking at altcoins. So we'd always trade ideas with each other. Right. But I remember over like coffee or something like that, she was telling me about crypto kitties. And I was like, okay, like, what are you talking about? And so even then I remember thinking, there's something here. This is different than speculating. This is a real use case for blockchain. And then another friend of mine who's actually in the art world back in 2017 was, I believe he had done an NFT. So he was telling me about crypto art. And I remember I didn't fully understand what he was talking about, but he was at that point looking into minting. And so it was really early on, but since then, of course, I've caught up on the space, but it's super exciting, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. I remember like back in the day, we used to, the concept of colored coins was the initial kind of pre-NFT days, and colored coins are essentially adding some type of unique attribute to a coin. At that time, they were talking about Bitcoin, like colored Bitcoin. So you have a colored coin, Bitcoin that represented real estate or something like that. So those are like, that was kind of the early days of the conceptualization of NFTs, in my opinion. So it's just interesting to see it move to where it is today. And I think it is definitely on the right path at this point. I think we're slight bubble, but every market has its ebbs and flows, and I think overall this is a long-term thing here with NFTs. So explain the whole blindboxes.io startup. Why did you come up with it? How did you come up with it? Tell us the whole story. I would love to hear.
Yeah, so Blind Boxes on the top level, we're a gamified, decentralized curation platform for NFTs plus a launchpad. And so just to give you an idea of what we're trying to solve, and then I'll get into the history. But when we're thinking about this NFT market, we're thinking of these three main categories of stakeholders. So we're thinking about our creators, we're thinking about our collectors, and we're thinking about our curators. And for creators, one major issue that we are seeing, and when I was also researching this market early on, is that creators are going through all this initial hurdles to get their work tokenized. And so first they're learning about NFTs, which is already a hurdle in itself. And then they're spending the upfront cost to mint. And then they have their inventory just sitting on these massive marketplaces, still not to be discovered. And so they still have to go back to the normal ways of promoting themselves, whether it's Instagram or Twitter. So it's, unless you're some of the biggest names in the space, oftentimes your work gets lost in the whole mess of it all. Similarly for collectors, so collectors now are going to these marketplaces and they're seeing assets. And from what we're seeing, there's a lack of curation on many marketplaces. And so there's no way to really tell if what you're getting is the value that it says it is, or what's good, or there's a lack of direction there. And if you think about platforms that you might use, like maybe a Spotify or even a YouTube, why do you like these platforms? You don't love it necessarily because it has all of the inventory in the world, but you might love it or appreciate it because when you open it, you know that there's something there that's curated for you. So someone has done the work, or it's an algorithm has sorted for you. So this is a theme that you'll hear me keep on talking about, but this curation thing is something that we're really, really focused on. And in that same vein, curators are are very important people in the art market, entertainment. And so for our sake of our platform, we're thinking of a curator as anyone who's a connector between artists or creators and collectors. And so, as we dig into the platform, I can tell you how we directly incentivize curators to come to our platform, build their own collections, bring in their own artists, and make those connections. And we let them monetize that. So there's a nice commission structure for it.
So are you going to have, like you mentioned with Spotify and some of these other streaming services, you're right. Like that's the beauty of, I use YouTube Music because I'm not Apple, but a Google Android guy. But oh, you are too?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh
Android,
my God, that's a rarity. We gotta like talk after the stream because I don't find too many of us anymore.
I know.
But
YouTube,
YouTube Music and any of these, Spotify and all these, they curate artists that you might normally never look to listen to, right? Because you just don't. So is your platform going to have that algorithm in there to say, okay, you're picking? Kind of walk us through that curation process. Is it really random, or is there some logic to this this blind box?
Yeah, so longer term, the idea is to definitely, we're looking towards working in algorithms and other smart ways to sort of sort the market. But at this stage, we're doing it in a more manual approach, but I think it makes a lot of sense. And so the way we're allowing is that we're allowing curators, who I mentioned can be you, it can be me. We're targeting a lot of key opinion leaders. So whether that is like a celebrity or it's someone who's made a name for themselves as a curator, or brands. So these curators will come to our platform and open a collection. Okay. So then they create a whitelist, or maybe more colloquially, a guest list of artists that can add NFTs to their specific collection. Okay. So then they have their list and they invite artists to put their NFTs in. The artists then add their NFTs to this collection, and they can choose which NFT they put in, and they can also choose which price tag they assign to it. And so we do offer guidance for how people should price, but to start, we are going to allow all artists to put their own price tags in. Finally, the curator can look into the collection and see, okay, how does this look? Take out any assets that don't make sense, keep it, anything that's mispriced, they can take out, and then they close the collection. Then our algorithm comes in and puts each NFT into a blind box, okay? And each blind box in that collection gets the same price tag. And so what our algorithm is doing is going through and looking at the prices that were put in and inputs, and then finding a price that makes sense for all of them. So as a user, what it looks like is you come to the collection and you're able to see who's curated the collection. So, you know, especially if it's a person who's a big name or someone who's a well-known collector, you already have this trust, like this person picks out good art or picks out good music, for example. And then you can also see the artists and the actual NFTs that are in the collection. What you don't know is which box you will get out of the collection. And so if you can imagine a scenario where you have maybe, we'll say 10 boxes, and 9 of the boxes are priced at around 300 euros or dollars. And one of the boxes has a much higher value because it's from a famous artist or it has a different sort of background to it. And then all of the boxes that come out cost 400, for example. So there's this arbitrage opportunity there that we think will be attractive to some buyers. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You explained it wonderfully. I totally get it now. And so I can even see this being a great fit for even fashion.
Yes,
NFTs and stuff like that. Yeah, I saw that Gucci just announced that they were going to get into the NFT world. So I'm assuming all the other high-end brands are as well. So I can see this being a very good tool for them as well. Is there going to be like an API, a white labeling feature that you're going to have as well?
Yeah. This is a very good question. Yes, this is something we're working on because, as you mentioned, especially in the high fashion world, that's where we've been having a lot of our conversations. And that has been the question that they've come to us with. And so we see the need. And if we've already done that tech development, we're happy to push it out in that way.
That's dope. That is really dope. So tell us like the rollout for blind boxes. Where are you right now with things? I see you can apply. That's assuming for curators, correct? Or is that for artists as well?
Yep, we have separate applications for artists, for curators, and also for collectors. Our roster, we have over 100 artists already signed up, so we're super excited about that. But
nice.
That number's, we expect that number to grow significantly. But where we are, okay, so we launched our IDO 2 weeks ago. So our token, which is the Bless token, which we haven't talked about yet, but we can definitely talk about.
Let's talk about that, yeah.
We will talk about it. Bless token was launched on March 26th, and our testing has already been completed. Our testnet has been completed. Our smart contracts have been audited, and we're expecting our platform to go live right around April 15th.
So let's talk about this token and how it works within your ecosystem. Love to hear more about that because, you know, many times people just create tokens just to have a token, right? But I'm assuming you, Anita, with your Harvard, Yale, wherever you went, I don't even know where you went. You went somewhere smart. You have a plan for this token. Please explain it. I would love to hear.
Yeah, so the platform token is called Bless, and in total, only 100 million Bless will ever be minted. And the primary way to attain Bless is by mining it, by opening blind boxes. So when you open a blind box, you get an NFT and you get some Bless, which is cool. We also allow collectors to accept Bless as payment on the platform, which is cool. We have some other DeFi related functionality with Bless. So Bless can be staked on the platform to earn an APY, to earn some yield. So we're encouraging people to sort of hold on to their Bless for that reason. We can also see a use case for it. Bless gives you voting rights. So this is quite important, actually. We are a DAO, and so we are completely governed by our token holders. And so token holders can propose changes to the platform and they can vote on initiatives. So, while we have a founding team today that's working to build this thing, as soon as possible, we're going to start pushing over a lot of the governance and idea building to our community. So if there's functionality that they want to see, if there are things that they don't like, they can completely govern it because they're token holders. And finally, we will have a burn mechanism to counteract inflation. So there's a mechanism by which we'll be burning some tokens over time to keep the balance as we mint and do things with it.
Oh, that's dope. That's really awesome. Okay, well thought out, multifaceted utility there with the token. I like that. One thing. So we didn't talk before going live. We just kind of picked your song. We got to ask why you picked that song. Picked your song and went live. But here, I'm in Detroit, right? I'm with EOS Detroit. So we're a block producer on the EOS IO blockchain, right? And we've started a subsidiary company that's solely about NFTs and stuff. And one of the things that I've really been wanting to make sure we stay ahead of is the regulatory environment when it comes to NFTs. What's your take on that, and how do you see that landscape changing in the next year? I think we're going to see some changes really quickly because this thing is heating up pretty fast. So I know it's kind of off topic, but that's an important topic to discuss, I think.
Oh yes, I mean it's something that we think about acutely. It's especially, well, one thing that I believe is something like maybe the elephant in the room is copyright and IP infringement.
Yeah.
And I think that might even be the first thing that we see, even before broad legislation, like at least in the US. I believe that's going to be a thing. So even with our artists today, we're going through and making sure that they understand that they really need to be very tight about what they're using and not violate anybody's IP. So that's probably going to be the first maybe downward or negative headline we see coming up soon. But I think it's totally, it makes sense because it's the arts, we're dealing with creative, so they should be credited. But yeah, I think taxation, it's just like, here's the thing, it's going to happen as long as a company you're prepared for it, then you can navigate it well. And this sort of regulation is good for our environment because it makes, I think ultimately it will allow it to grow. So it might affect it negatively in the short term, but longer term, it's going to be what allows it to grow. So, but it's coming.
It's a good, I guess I can agree with you there in some form or fashion. Like I think definitely in the short run it's a negative. It will impede growth initially, but hopefully it'll be that like exponential growth pattern, going out into the future. I mean, what do you see with other countries though? Are you staying on top of what they're doing and how they're approaching regulation with NFTs and cryptos and period? It doesn't have to be just NFTs.
Well, yeah. So, I'm in Germany now.
Okay.
Germany is one place where it seems as though they haven't even fully, the crypto has been under the radar, even for the government. Like obviously they're aware of crypto, et cetera, but it seems to be that it's not something that they're watching very acutely. And I think that the NFT in general from what I've seen, it hasn't really fully hit Europe the way it's hit the States yet.
Gotcha.
Similarly, and I would say Asia's huge, but I would expect to see more adoption in certain Asian countries than I'm seeing now. Obviously, it's there, but I think the US is definitely, from what I've been seeing and reading and feeling, leading the charge on NFTs, which is cool because that means the rest of the world still has time to turn on. So there's more room for growth for companies like us.
Yeah, that makes sense. Any last words? I see your team. Tell us about your co-founder and tech lead, David.
Yeah, so David has a long history leading dev teams, over 30 years. He's worked at companies like Viacom and Facebook and Huffington Post. And, he's someone who is, I've mentioned this in other interviews, but really, really good at bridging this gap between the super technical and the softer sides and the more creative and strategy sides. And so, I've worked with developers in the past on various projects, and I would say this working relationship works very well because we are both able to do thought exchange and troubleshoot, with each other. So that's been really cool. And then I'll mention Suze Lee again, our CMO. She has a background. She's done this is her second startup, and she has a background in early stage VCs where she led marketing and strategy for consumer facing tech companies. And so a natural fit for this. Also very good at looking out into the market, understanding the signals we're seeing, and then bringing it back. And then I'll mention that we're all engineers, so we share that bond and that sort of crazy mindset. So
yeah, I don't think it's crazy. I think engineers have great minds. Great minds. Great. Appreciate you coming on. Anything outside of what you're doing with Blind Box that you want to tell the audience about that you're excited about or you're involved in?
Anything else? It's been all blind boxes.
It's been all blind boxes. Okay, that's good. That's good.
But
it wasn't a trick question, guys. I was just wondering.
These days it's been that. But other than that, staying healthy and looking forward to the year ahead.
Yeah. Absolutely. So speaking of health, how are you able to go back and forth to the States and back? How's that looking?
Yeah, I have a visa which allows me to travel between the U.S. and Europe, which is cool.
Yeah.
I would really love to get the vaccine, and the vaccine rollout in Europe has been quite sluggish.
Mm-hmm.
Not so good. It's not good. Whereas I know
so they're not requiring you to have a vaccine yet to travel internationally. That's been on the table. Yeah.
No. Oh, I hope not. I hope that doesn't become the case. That would suck for now for me if I want to travel. But
yeah.
How is it going in Detroit in terms
Horrible.
of the vaccine?
Oh, the vaccine is I don't know. I guess they're getting it out, but the numbers are spiking up. I think we're the number one in the country now. Our 3 counties, it's Macomb, Wayne, and another one, Washtenaw or something. Yeah, we're the worst, and we have the lockdowns and all that implemented, so that kind of lets you know that we need to take a different approach at trying to combat this. I don't know how. I think it's just a new normal, to be honest with you. It's a new normal, and we're just going to have to figure out how to adapt and deal with it, in my opinion. I don't know.
Not new normal. Don't say that. We can't. Well, we can if we have to. We can, because humans are.
We can get through it. I don't look at it as a negative, like necessarily a negative thing, but it's a new normal. I think we'll see. Okay. We'll see. Well, Anita Moore, appreciate you coming on today. Co-founder of blindboxes.io. Guys, go check it out. Apply if you would like. I think this is an interesting concept right here, guys. Definitely check it out. Again, blindboxes.io. That's plural. It's your boy Crypto Blood, and that's another kick in the session. We out of here. Holla!
Bye.
If you want to see more videos and interviews like this from influential people in tech, finance, and sports, subscribe to the channel and make sure you hit the bell to be alerted. And go a step further and join the YouTube membership area for early releases of videos like this. I'm out of here. Ha!